This is a chaos edition. We ain't playing no damn games. We getting right into it. And this is about nose. This is about phenotype. This is about environment. And we're going to break down cold climate environments. Climate adaptation. Warm and humid climates, broader noses, and wider nostrils are thought to be better suited for warm, humid climates because they can efficiently cool and humidify the air as it is inhaled. Cold and dry climates, conversely, narrower noses with smaller nostrils may have evolved in colder, drier climates to warm and humidify the air more effectively. The researchers noted that the positive direction of the effects indicate that wider noses are more common in warm, humid climates, while narrow noses are more common in cold, dry climates. Arthur Thompson, Thompson's nose rule. In the late 1800s, he said that long and thin noses occurred in dry areas, while short and wide noses occurred in hot and humid areas. For those who don't know, the word lipterine means narrow, means thin nose. Factors influencing the aquiline nose distribution, genetic admixtures. Modern genomic studies confirm that populations in the Horn of Africa, particularly Cushites and Semitic-speaking groups, have a significant portion of non-African ancestry resulting from ancient and more recent migration. The genetic heritage contributes to facial features, including nose shape that differ from most sub-Saharan African populations. Environmental adaptation. The classic evolutionary explanation suggests that narrow nose shapes often include aquiline forms, may have been an adaptation to cold and dry climates. See what I'm saying? As they warm and humidify inhaled air more effectively than broad noses. This theory applies to some East African groups living at higher altitudes, high bird games, higher power, high in the mountains. To the head game. Kinky hair is indigenous to hot climates, particularly in the indigenous populations of sub-Saharan Africa, Malaysia, and has been linked to an evolutionary advantage of thermoregulation. This tightly coiled head creates a protective layer that shields the scalp from intense sun and allows for better evaporative cooling, which is crucial for keeping the brain cool and increasing endurance in hot weather. Indigenous people in hot climates often have wider noses and as an adaptation to the environment, which helps them to breathe in and humidify warm, humid air. This is a result of natural selection, where populations that evolved in warmer, more humid regions develop wider nostrils to allow for greater airflow. Wide nose game is the airflow game. Follow your nose. Warm climate adaptation in hot, humid climates, a wider nose allows for greater volume of air intake, which is beneficial for cooling down and for longer or faster exercises. Cold climate adaptations. In cold, dry climates, a narrow nose increases the amount of contact time between the incoming air and the nasal membranes, which humidifies and warms the air more efficiently before it enters the lungs. Natural selections. The shape of the nose has been influenced by natural selections over thousands of years to suit the climate of a region. Individuals with features better suited to their environment, your features suited to their environments, were more likely to survive and reproduce, passing those traits on. Cold and dry climates. Regions that lie in the cold climate zone are situated in high altitudes. The temperatures range between 20 to 30 degrees C in summers, while in winters it can range from 3 to 8 degrees C, making it quite chilly. Health effects. The cold, dry air can irritate the respiratory system, worsening conditions like asthma. It can also dry out skin and mucous membranes, making a person more susceptible to illness. Low humidity, cold air holds very little moisture. It's not a flex. Because there is no cold, dry climate in Africa. So when we look for it, it says experience both hot or warm summers, very cold, dry. Precipitation generally receives low. But this example is Gobi Desert. Antarctica, a polar desert. High dry climates, temperature, yada 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 yada. Sahara Desert and Death Valley. You see what I'm saying? So that would make their climate a cold desert climate. That's a BKW. That BKW puts you in the pink. There are two variations of a desert climate according to the Kaplan climate classification: a hot desert and a cold desert climate. A hot desert climate and a cold desert climate. Narrow noses are linked to cold, dry climates because their shape allows the nasal passage to more efficiently warm. Yada yada yada. A narrow nose is linked to a cold desert, not a hot desert. Let's note that so they wouldn't be indigenous to Africa. That's a hot desert, not a cold desert. Protection from pathogens. The nasal passages are linked with yada 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 membranes, which trap pathogens and dust, protecting the lungs from infections and damage. In cold, dry climates, this function is even more crucial, as low humidity can repair the body's ability to clear pathogens. Natural selections. Over time, individuals with narrow noses were more likely to survive and reproduce in colder, drier climates, leading to a gradual decrease in nose width in those populations. Narrow noses are linked to cold, dry climates. When we check the biome, a cold, dry climate puts you in the tundra instead of a dry desert, so you wouldn't be in the Sahara or no African desert because that's a dry climate. That's a dry, hot climate. So your biome is a cold desert opposed to a hot desert, so you are a snowman instead of a sandman. So we are on the wet side, the hot side that puts us in the rainforest. So no connection to cold or dryness. Oxygen rich for the wide nostrils. Ultraviolet radiation for the woolly hair. So we have the increase in wetness and the increase of the hotness that puts us in the rainforest. And they are dealing in cold and wet. Cold and hot, so that puts them in the Arctic opposed to a tropical desert or a temperate desert. So you're not from a temperate desert nor a tropical desert. When we get into the comparison summaries of a cold, dry climate and a hot, wet climate, temperatures can have large daily and seasonal swings. Winters are cold and dry. Hot, wet climate, consistently hot year-round with little variation. Humidity, cold, dry climate, very low precipitation is scarce. Hot, wet, very high, abundant rainfall. Feeling, cold. Dry can be harsh on the skin and respiratory system. It's bad on your fucking lungs. Spiritual warfare. Spirit to breathe. Feeling wet, hot, damp, sticky, oppressive, hard to cool down. Evaporation game. Sweat evaporates quickly, helping to cool the body. Opposite side, sweat evaporations very slowly, making it difficult to cool down. Example, tropical rainforest. Example, like the Antarctic desert. Look, ecosystem. Look at our ecosystem. Dense, diverse ecosystem. All that shit is adaptation and cap. So remember, your phenotype is your genetics plus your environment gives out your outward appearance. So remember, we have hot climate hair and hot climate nose. So we're coming from a rainforest environment. So yes, a rainforest is a type of environment. So if your environment and your genetics make up your phenotype, you have a rainforest phenotype. Your biome is your natural home game. Let's get it. Look at the ecosystem services. Rainforest plays a vital role in the planet's health by regulating global climate and absorbing carbon dioxide. Biodiversity. Despite covering a small percentage of Earth's surface, because they cut the shit down, rainforests are home to more than half of the world's plant and animal species. So we see that they do not like humidity, so they stay away from humidity. Straight hair is common in colder climates because it's more effective at trapping heat and keeping the head warm. Look at this shit. In contrast, tightly curled hair provides better insulation against intense sun in the hot climates. So as humans migrated away from the equator, hair types that favor heat retention became more common. Advantages of straight hair in cold climates. Heat retention. Straight hair covers the scalp more directly, which helps trap heat close to the head and prevents heat loss. Moisture runoff. Look at that shit. Protection. All types of straight hair. Man, we got to part 2 this. And this is King Jareer in your ear. Remember this for educational purposes. This may ruffle some feathers and shake some K-E-Haves.